She said how Beyoncé would just pop up at the studio unannounced and drive by her apartment several times to see if she was fooling with anybody else. Like on some real creepy type. Amil was like, nah, I ain't having that
idea because he couldn't get Beyoncé to stop people. Guess you didn't know your daughter well enough because she just started all the girls.
If I was a boy, I would probably still like boys.
Once again, Beyoncé is caught up in rumors about her preferences, but this time the evidence seems to be pretty solid. While Beyoncé might look like she's head over heels in love with Jay-Z now, there are whispers that she once had a deep, passionate relationship with someone else, and it wasn't another man. It was with a woman named Amil. Now, if you've never heard about Amil, Beyoncé's alleged lover, well, buckle up because this is a story you won't want to miss.
What happened to Amil?
I don't know, man. Amil, she just disappeared, man. Like, one day Hov just say, oh, you'll never see her again, and I never did.
Amil was a rapper who made a splash as part of a group called Major Coins. Although the group didn't last long, Amil was a born star. People expected her to fade away just as quickly as she arrived, but she had a spark that made her music stand out. She got signed to Jay-Z's record label, Roc-A-Fella, and her future seemed limitless. Her unique voice, soft yet raspy, became a signature sound on several Roc-A-Fella tracks. She was actually the first artist to be signed to the label, which was a huge deal. It seemed like the sky was the limit for her. There were even rumors that she was a ghostwriter for Jay-Z. She was so promising that she even recorded a track with Beyoncé called I Got That. But here's where things get really juicy. The relationship between Beyoncé and Amil reportedly went way beyond just making music together. Rumors started flying that the two were much more than just friends. According to Amil, who confided in some close friends, she and Beyoncé were deeply involved with each other in a romantic relationship, all behind Jay-Z's back. Apparently, Beyoncé fell for Amil hard and fast. While both women were equally involved, Beyoncé was the one who became deeply, almost obsessively attached. Beyoncé's behavior around Amil was reportedly quite different from her usual self. She acted like a jealous, over-possessive lover, willing to go to great lengths to keep Amil to herself. She even started acting like a stalker, showing up at Amil's apartment unannounced to make sure Amil wasn't with anyone else.
She said how Beyoncé would just pop up at the studio unannounced and drive by her apartment several times to see if she was fooling with anybody else. Like on some real creepy type. Amil was like, nah, I ain't having that.
However, Amil was already in a relationship with another rapper, Priest. Despite sleeping with Beyoncé, Amil would never choose her over Priest. This didn't sit well with Beyoncé, who eventually gave Amil an ultimatum: choose her or Priest. To Beyoncé's dismay, Amil chose Priest, but Beyoncé wasn't the type to be easily discarded. She decided that if she couldn't have Amil, then she would make sure Amil suffered the consequences.
Stop. Beyoncé was like, look, you gotta choose. It's gonna be either me or Priest. And of course, Amil chose Priest. That's when she said Beyoncé spazzed out again and started making several calls, and then boom, she was kicked from the label. And 2 years later, Beyoncé and Jay-Z was a thing. Crazy.
With Jay-Z's help, Beyoncé allegedly orchestrated the downfall of Amil's career. Despite Amil's immense talent, her career fizzled out, and many believe that had Beyoncé not intervened, Amil could have been a huge star, possibly even rivaling Beyoncé herself. While the reasons for Amil's removal from Jay-Z's label and her subsequent blacklisting from the music industry seem pretty obvious to most people, Amil has always tried to present it as her own personal choice. In an interview, she shared her side of the story, saying, I started to rebel. I rebelled against the industry because it's not what I wanted. I hated traveling. I wasn't at after parties or the club. Also, at the time, my son's asthma, who was 5 or 6 years old at the time, was getting and no one was there for him. I had to be there for him. Amil went on to emphasize that the decision to step back was entirely hers and that no one or nothing else pushed her out. She said, I felt like it just wasn't for me. That's when I started rebelling. I started rebelling because I wanted out. It was easier for me to slip away. I faded myself. No one faded me. And that's when everything seemed to go left. She even mentioned that she left the industry because the more money she made, the more deals she felt she had to make with Satan. That part sounds like a conspiracy theory, maybe something Amil uses to make sense of why her contract with Roc-A-Fella was terminated so abruptly. Amil was never given a clear reason for why she was so ruthlessly removed from Jay-Z's record company. For years, she tried to come up with explanations to convince herself that it wasn't Beyoncé getting back at her for their alleged breakup. At one point, she even thought her weight gain might have been the reason she was let go.
Yeah, I got up to a little 135 pounds. You want to call that big? Okay, yeah, I got this.
Oh, so they even said that
Because you even heard because you gained some weight?
Yeah, that I gained weight.
Throughout all this, Beyoncé and Jay-Z continued to completely shut Amil out, never giving her a chance to speak or explain herself. Amil revealed how Jay-Z treated her during this difficult time, saying, "I tried to reach out to Jay several times. He never got back to me." Jay-Z went so far as to tell his friends that they wouldn't be seeing Amil again. And just like that, she was no longer part of the label, no longer invited to any parties or industry events. Now, Amil isn't the only artist who has allegedly felt the wrath of Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Another example is Tiara Marie. Back in 2005, a young and incredibly talented Tiara Marie scored a deal with Jay-Z's Roc-A-Fella Records. Not only was she gifted, but she was also stunning and only 17 years old. Under Jay-Z's wing, Tiara dropped her single Make Her Feel Good from her debut album, and it was an instant hit. With Jay-Z backing her and being crowned the princess of Def Jam Records, Tiara was living the dream. Around the same time, a young Rihanna and Ne-Yo also signed up with Def Jam Records. Tiara was already the official princess of the label, soaking up all the attention. Rihanna, being an immigrant from Barbados, was kind of in the shadows compared to her more promising label mate. But then, things took a dramatic turn when Queen Bey decided she was vibing more with Rihanna. Suddenly, the dynamics at the label shifted, and Tiara found herself getting the boot. L.A. Reid spilled the beans in his memoir, revealing that initially, the label thought Tiara was the bigger star between her and Rihanna. However, Beyoncé stepped in, made them reconsider, and pushed for Rihanna. Reid wrote, "We had an in-house company showcase, and Beyoncé happened to be there with Jay-Z, Tiara Marie, Rihanna, a four-girl group called Black Butterfly, and Ne-Yo performed. At the label, we thought Tiara Marie would be a big star. We spent more time on her, did more work on her, paid more attention to her. A bell went off for me, however, when after the showcase, Beyoncé came up to me and said, 'That Rihanna girl, she's a b-.'" After a little nudge from Beyoncé, the execs decided to give Rihanna a closer look. Fast forward to 2006, and Tiara Marie received a call, not a fancy letter, just a call, probably made by some staff member, informing her that she was no longer part of the label. Imagine getting the boot without a proper heads up from a guy you saw as a father figure. Tiara later spilled the tea, saying Jay-Z himself never bothered to give her the news. She said, "Jay-Z didn't call me to tell me bye-bye." If things had played out differently, Tiara could have been today's Rihanna, or at least a much bigger star, considering her undeniable talent. But unfortunately, her peak fame window was from 2005 to 2006. Since Beyoncé's intervention, she's been hustling as a struggling artist with just one hit to her name. And then there's the saga of Jay-Z and Foxy Brown. They crossed paths when Foxy was just 15. Later on, Foxy signed with Def Jam, and rumors started swirling about a romantic relationship between her and Jay-Z. Jay-Z kept bringing Foxy on stage during his tours while she was still in her teens, giving off major deja vu vibes from the Aaliyah and R. Kelly drama. They were always seen together, hitting the same parties, sparking speculation about their connection. They released collabs like Ain't No and I'll Be, solidifying their status as a rap dream team. The chemistry between Foxy and Jay-Z was undeniable, creating a combo of lyrics and a shared passion for their craft. They were cooking up something special, and the world was vibing with it big time. But then, Foxy's career took a turn. She was all set to drop Black Roses, but a hearing loss threw a major curveball. The album got shelved, and her career faced a big question mark. Whispers started about Jay-Z not being happy with how things were going, hinting at a possible label detour. The Black Roses hype eventually died down, shaking up their collaboration journey. Fast forward to May 2007, and Black Hand Entertainment steps in. They're managing Foxy Brown now, with Chaz Williams leading the charge. But plot twist, the release date for Black Roses was still missing. By August 16, 2007, it was official. Foxy was waving goodbye to Def Jam, gearing up for her indie record label, Black Rose Entertainment, with Coke Records handling distribution. It was a big career pivot, a fresh path for her artistic vision. Unfortunately, things took a bit of a nosedive. The big question remains, why did her career take a nosedive despite having Jay-Z in her corner? Foxy is incredibly talented, and she's always spoken highly of Jay. You'd think he would have pulled some strings to keep her in the game, lame, right? It's not surprising that many folks believe that after Jay was done with Foxy, he just let her fade into the background. Rumors have it that as Foxy started growing up, getting wiser, and realizing how messed up her relationship with Jay-Z was, she no longer felt cool being Jay-Z's little secret. That's when things went south. Jay-Z not only ended things with her personally, but also professionally. He stopped collaborating with her, and to add insult to injury, he blacklisted her in the industry. Another artist who allegedly got silenced by the Carters was Blue Cantrell. Back in the early 2000s, Blue was a big name in R&B, really giving Beyoncé a run for her money. With tracks like Hit 'Em Up Style and Breathe climbing charts everywhere, Blue was on fire. But here's the kicker. After years of rocking the scene, she just vanished from the public eye. Where'd she go? Given her obvious talent, record labels were practically fighting over her. Blue eventually decided to roll with Arista Records, and in April 2001, she dropped her first single, Hit 'Em Up Style, which absolutely blew up. The song not only snagged the #2 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, but also earned her a Grammy nomination for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. Blue Cantrell was riding a massive wave of success back then. In the same year, her debut album, So Blue, went platinum, and things kept looking up for her. Then, in 2003, she released her second album, Bittersweet, which included the hit Breathe featuring Sean Paul. This track was another big success, earning her a second Grammy nomination, this time for Best R&B Album. Now here's where it gets interesting. Amid all her achievements, there were persistent rumors flying around saying she was in some intense feud with Beyoncé. At that time, Beyoncé was just kicking off her solo career with Dangerously in Love, and she was in the early days of her relationship with Jay-Z. Blue, on the other hand, was tight with Jay and dropping R&B chart toppers around the same time. You can guess how the gossip started. Whenever folks asked Blue about her and Jay-Z, she always shot it down, saying there was nothing going on. Although she did spill the beans to Wendy Williams once, admitting she had a big crush on him. She said, "I still have a crush on him now. I don't care who he's dating, I always had a crush on him." It seemed like Beyoncé wasn't too thrilled about Blue having a thing for her man, Jay-Z. And Blue didn't exactly help cool things down. Things got even spicier when she pointed out similarities between her songs and Beyoncé's. In an interview with The Guardian, she mentioned how the music video for Beyoncé and Jay-Z's Bonnie and Clyde seemed a lot like the promo for her song Round Up, which came out first.
Check. Unleash the flutes on them, guru.
And Beyoncé, well, she threw some fuel on the fire too. In her song Signs, she drops this line about being in love with a Sagittarius, Jay-Z, and being hurt by a Pisces, Blue. This didn't sit well with Blue, who said, "Maybe she's trying to do it to get press, but I want to make her understand if she goes there with me, it's the wrong move. She needs to understand what she's doing and what she's getting into. I'm a master at singing." Blue Cantrell wasn't letting Beyoncé off the hook. After catching wind of the whispers, she fired back, accusing Beyoncé of ripping her off. The heat turned up when Blue heard Beyoncé's single Baby Boy and thought it was way too similar to her own chart-topping hit, Breathe. Both tunes were edgy R&B jams featuring Sean Paul, and Blue wasn't having it. She straight up complained about it, saying, "Beyoncé is talented and beautiful, and I'm a fan, but she has a song out which is very similar to mine. She uses words that are in the hook of my song, and if she's that talented, she shouldn't have to copy someone else. Her song Baby Boy has the exact word breathe in the hook." She continued her rant saying, "She's ripping me off, but there is no animosity because I'm a very positive person. However, I'm a little disappointed because she is established and didn't have to do that. She won't get away with plagiarizing me because I'm a #1 artist." So, here's the wild turn in the story. Not long after the feud, according to TMZ, Blue Cantrell had this bizarre episode. They reported she was running through the streets in Santa Monica, ranting about people trying to K-word her. The whole thing went down around 2 a.m., and witnesses said she was going on about someone giving her poisonous gas. It got so intense that someone had to call the cops. When the officers showed up, Blue pulled the "Do you know who I am?" card and even referred to herself as a one-hit wonder. The cops decided to take her to a nearby hospital for a checkup. After that incident, it was like Blue vanished into thin air, while Beyoncé just kept on slaying with her tours and topping the chart. Now, circling back to Beyoncé and those alleged romantic relationships with women, there's a lot to unpack. If you try to find the interview where Amil mentioned that Beyoncé liked her, you'll quickly discover that it's been wiped from the internet. And speaking of interviews that seem to have vanished, there's another one where Lady Gaga talked about working with Beyoncé on telephone. Gaga said, "We had an amazing time working together on her video, and it just kind of works out because we both like women. Now, she probably meant that Beyoncé likes women in general and likes to support them. But then again, as some people pointed out, Lady Gaga could have meant that quite literally. So, why would Beyoncé and Jay-Z want such information, even if they are just rumors, scrubbed from the internet? Is it because there's some truth to the idea that Beyoncé might actually like women? Besides the Amil story and Lady Gaga's comment, there have been other rumors that point in the same direction. For instance, there was that buzz about Rita Ora allegedly having a threesome with Beyoncé and Jay-Z. If these instances aren't convincing enough, let's take a trip down memory lane and revisit some of the other shocking claims about Beyoncé's preferences. Back in 2007, there was a report claiming that Beyoncé was spotted at The Box, a club, with 3 girlfriends. They were enjoying the club's risque show, surrounded by a huge bodyguard and protective curtains around their table. A source even said at the time, Beyoncé was really making the most of the burlesque strip show. She was on the table in the VIP balcony, cheering loudly as 2 girls got and licked each other's feet. She stayed until 3:30 in the morning. There was also another account, now scrubbed from the internet, about a woman who claimed that while they were dancing at a club, she sat on Beyoncé's lap and Beyoncé told her something like, "Don't start something you can't finish." In addition, some folks might recall the rumors about Beyoncé having an unusually close relationship with her female guitar player during her tours. Other people say that Beyoncé looked a little too comfortable being between 2 other women in the Cater to You video. Sure, Michelle and Kelly were also next to Beyoncé, so it's unclear what that says about them. Anyway, this next one might be a stretch, but don't you find it a bit odd that Beyoncé has used bi lighting and colors quite a few times over the years? She used the lighting for her Complex magazine covers, both in 2003 and 2013, and there are several performances where she used the same lighting effect. Coincidence? Knowing Beyoncé, she always does everything with intention, and it's almost safe to say that nothing she does is a coincidence. So for her to be using those bi signs multiple times had a lot of people convinced she was definitely trying to communicate something. More recently, many of Beyoncé's most loyal fans believe she appeared to come out during her Renaissance era. Beyoncé paid homage to various individuals who inspired the project, like her uncle Johnny, who was and passed away due to complications with HIV/AIDS. She described him as her godmother and the first person to expose her to a lot of the music and culture that inspired the album. She also honored all the pioneers who originated the culture and all the fallen angels whose contributions have gone unrecognized for far too long, seemingly referencing queer icons such as Moy Renee, who never achieved mainstream success due to her identity. But if you ask a lot of people, they will tell you that the Renaissance album had too many queer references to just be an homage. Allegedly, Beyoncé was trying to communicate something significant, and it's no wonder people are piecing together the clues. For starters, trans DJ and musician Honey Dijon served as the lead producer on 2 tracks from Renaissance, Cozy, and Alien Superstar. Honey Dijon has always used her platform to highlight the pivotal role queer and black folks have played in music, so it's hard to believe it's a coincidence that Beyoncé chose to collaborate with her. Speaking of Cozy, the clues in this song are too obvious to ignore. The song talks about a woman being comfortable in her own skin, and it has become an anthem for many in the LGBTQ+ community. During Beyoncé's tour performance in Atlanta, she even flew the bi pride flag behind her while performing the song. She also added some extra lyrics about eating a girl named Caroline. Who might Caroline be? A secret girlfriend, perhaps? Another song worked on by Honey Dijon, Alien Superstar, samples the classic 1991 hit I'm Too by Right Said Fred. Interestingly, the band's lead singer, Fred Fairbrass, is bi. This song also sees Beyoncé honoring ballroom culture as she declares, "Categories bad, Beyoncé, I'm the bar." The references don't stop there. On the album, Break My Soul heavily samples Big Freedia's 2014 song, Explode. Big Freedia, who is a rapper, previously collaborated with Beyoncé on Formation, and their uncredited vocals add another layer to the track. In Plastic Off the Sofa, Beyoncé worked with Sid, who produced the song alongside Callie. Sid rose to fame as a member of Odd Future, and she is openly lesbian, married to her longtime girlfriend Ariana Simone. Another track, Move, includes contributions from Time's cover stars Thames and Grace Jones. This song also heavily promotes girl power, with Beyoncé singing about coming straight out of the jungle to groove on the dance floor. As if there weren't already enough references, Beyoncé also samples Miss Honey in another one of her songs, Pure Honey. Since its release in 1992, Miss Miss Honey has remained a staple within LGBTQ+ spaces. Moy Renee, the artist behind Miss Honey, was a legendary queen known for their electrifying performances at New York venues like the Shelter and Midtown 43. Adding to the already extensive list, Summer Renaissance samples Donna Summer's iconic I Feel Love, which became a anthem upon its release due to its constant rotation in queer dance clubs. So, was it just a coincidence that Beyoncé incorporated all these references, or was she subtly coming out? Let us know in the comments below and we'll catch you in the next video.